Good morning, YouTube. It is 6 a.m. in the great state of Texas. And what we're doing today is attempting to finally get rid of some scrap wood laying around the workshop. I've had this particular piece laying on my floor for about 6 months, I think. And finally got around to doing something about it and thought, I'm going to put something together. We're going to make something good. And I'm going to try to make a cool little bowl out of it. And as you saw by the thumbnail, things are not going to go as planned because nothing I ever do on this channel, woodworking wise, ever goes the way I intended it to. So it's just a small 1x1 piece of wood. I don't even know what kind of wood this is. I think it's some kind of oak, essentially. I'm really not sure. But what I do know is that when you put it on the lathe, it's basically the equivalent of turning concrete. And here I am on the miter saw, cutting things down into like 5.5-inch blocks. Plan is just to use as much of it as possible and then take it over to the lathe and turn it into a bowl with a lid, essentially. And this part, relatively well. Doing pretty good. Got everything glued up nice the way I want. Not a whole lot of issues here. The glue up is the best part of this video. The glue up is probably the only part that goes relatively well. The rest of this is going to be absolutely crazy. So, got that all glued up the way that I wanted, came back, put it in some vices, just let this glue set up for about 24 hours, and I'm thinking, okay, we're going to make a bowl. But that's not the only piece of scrap wood I have. I got this from a packing box. I think this piece of wood came in one of the tables, like literally like 5 years ago, and I was like, okay, we got to do something with it. And I had an extra piece of this wood, and I'm just going to sandwich it in between. And initially I thought this was going just to be the lid. I thought, you know what, we're just going to glue this up. I should have took that sticker off because I'm going to find out later that's going to be a problem. And just put that in some grips. Same thing, just let it set up for 24 hours and see what we can get. And I'm thinking this is going to be pretty easy. And here we are 24 hours later, taking everything out of the grips. Really nice sunny day here in Texas. It's raining a little bit, and I'm thinking, all right, and just a cool, easy, breezy little project right after work. Everything's sandwiched up real good. That, wood glue set in. Everything's attached real nice and neat. I'm thinking, not a problem. Not a problem. So, I'm doing my typical thing that I usually do here. Putting the faceplate on, and I'm just making these small little indentions so I can come back with the drill and cut some guide holes and then put the faceplate on. And I'm thinking, okay, we got everything ready to go. Boom, there's, tighten that up a little bit. There's 2, here's 3, here comes 4, bam. Easy breezy, no problem whatsoever. And it's going directly into the piece of wood. It's not on the center line where things were attached. It's going to go directly in the middle of these pieces of wood. And man, this was the beginning of the most aggravating part of this project. At this point, I should have known this is just not going to go the way that I want. So here I am trying to screw this in, and I'm going, okay, it's in there a little bit. Maybe I'll just come back, set this other one, and just problems. I'm going, okay, what's the issue? It's eating away at my drill bit. And I'm going to come back and put another one in there. And I'm going, all right, so we're almost there. They're about halfway in. And then it just will not go all the way in. So I'm going, okay, get the impact driver. I'm like, all right. And then it snapped the hell out of it and broke off another piece. And I was like, you know what? Let's add insult to injury. Oh, hell, I already got 2 all messed up. So I'm thinking, all right, well, that's that. There's 3 pieces of the tips of those screws that just came out, and I spent an hour, and I saved you having to watch that part of it. This is what it looks like after I bored out all of those screws that were stuck in there. It took me an hour to get them all out because it's some kind of hard, I think it's like red oak, I think this wood is. But it ate at my drill bit. You can see there, that drill bit's completely wasted. I'm going to have to get a new one. I can't use that anymore. And here are the pieces of the screws that are left, so I'll have to throw those away. And now I'm thinking, what in the hell I'm going to do? So what I ended up was taking, there's no mortise on there, So there's no faceplate, so I don't even know what it's called. The portion of, you'll see it here in a little bit. It's basically just, I took the hammer and there's a spindle on the end of it, and that's basically what we're doing here, and it's just in there really good. I took the heaviest hammer I had and pounded that thing in there so that it would stay. But the reason why I didn't want to do that initially is because like with typical that I do with my bowls, I make a mortise where the tailstock is, and then I flip it over on the chuck, and then that allows me to go ahead and gouge out the bolt. But on this one, since I can't do that, I'm going to have to do something different. So I'm going to go back old school and end up making a tenon. And you guys will get to see that here in a little bit. And you can just see the amount of wobble that is on this. Just tons of wobble. The chisels aren't going through it as easy. I switched from the large carbide tool round to the smaller one that I had. It just ate at it a little bit better. And all I'm doing here is just trying to make a shape, essentially. Just get everything nice and cylindrical. And then trying to figure out what I'm going to do and how much material am I going to need. Because if you make a tenon, you need a good amount of it so that it'll grip inside of the chuck jaws. And basically my goal here is just try to get everything round and then flatten everything down. And then here I am just inching or bit by bit trying to see how much material I'm actually going to need for that. And once I got everything into like a nice round shape, it went relatively easy. I still had a lot of start and stoppage on the lathe itself because this wood was just not cooperating the way that I wanted. And since it's wobbling on the lathe, that's also an issue. It's just a lot of problems with that. So here you can see the tenon, and then I flipped it over. This is essentially what this is. So instead of there being a hole there, that's a piece of the wood that's actually clamped down on the chuck jaws. And now we're going to gouge out this portion of the project. And you can see it's just cratered, and I'm going, oh my goodness, this thing is just going to eat away at my or it's just going to, what I'm fearful of is that eventually it's going to just spin and then it's just going to like explode on the lathe essentially. But I decided, since I got it reversed, I'm just going to flatten everything as much as possible to reduce that wobble when we start the gouging portion of it. Hopefully that it won't explode on the lathe. So did this part of it, and it went a lot easier than I thought, went a lot smoother. So I'm going, okay, good, that's a good sign. So once we did that, everything's nice and flat, and now we can start the part that I'm fearing, which is this right here. And surprisingly, it went relatively well. This part, not a whole lot of issues. My biggest fear was just going too deep to where I wasn't going to have enough material to actually make any kind of bolt. It's already so shallow. And this is basically an ashtray. I don't smoke, but essentially that's about all this is going to be good for here in a little bit. But the chisels ate through it pretty good. Going with the grain, I think, was a lot easier, obviously. And now we're just making the lip of the bowl here, and not a whole lot of issue. So pretty happy with that. So then we just came back once I got to a nice depth, realized, there's no material left to work with, and now we're just going from like 50 to 80. Did not spend a lot of time sanding. At this point, I was just happy that there was something to show for all that effort. So we didn't spend a lot of time doing that. So here's the trickiest part, and here's a good view. So you can see there's barely any material left, and essentially what I'm doing is try to take the parting tool and separate the tenon from the actual piece itself. And this part, was kind of sketchy because you can see all the wobble there, and it's just vibrating back and forth. And I knew I was going to get to a point where everything kind of detached, so I stopped it here, attempted to sand it, but ended up just taking the handsaw to it eventually. So here's the extra part of it, and here I am attempting again to drill in this faceplate, and it just wasn't taking. And again, my dumb ass goes back to the impact driver, and things are falling off. You can't really see it, but here I am just trying to force it. Got one in there, and then then the screw tore off. It went in, and then it just broke off. The worst screws ever. Like I don't know. They're just not holding up. So then I tried to put that on there like I did for the earlier part, and then realized it just fell apart. And I was like, okay, cut your losses and just do what you should have done like years ago. Throw away the scrap wood. Don't save it. Sometimes it's useful, but man, sometimes you just gotta cut your losses. That stuff. So now all I'm doing here is just sanding down the bottom where that little piece of that nub was left, and just broke out the sander. Did not really do a whole lot here. Just showing you how I finished it up on the floor essentially. And if you've ever had a rage project in a workshop, my workshop is a disaster. There is stuff everywhere. I got the sander, I got 4 different types of screws, the hammer, the chisels, the impact driver, the drill, from just being completely just crazy about it. But got everything cleaned up, and then we just came back and hit it with some wood wax. The wood grain looks beautiful. I wish this would have worked out the way that I had wanted it to, but it didn't. But we got something out of it. So salvaged something out of that scrap wood. And those little indentations from me drilling it out and putting the screws in there, decided, you know what, we're just going to add some accent pieces. So I took some JB Weld epoxy and put some purple glitter in there. And then all we're going to do is come back and put in a little bit of filler there just to add a little extra accent. And I think this actually looks really good. Somebody had left a comment a while back on another project to do something similar to this, and was really happy with that suggestion. But overall, there won't be a lid, but we did get something out of it. So what a project. So I hope you guys are liking this bonus content. There's going to be a lot more bonus stuff coming out, but here it is, all done, neat up. But overall, pretty happy how it turned out. Glad I had something to show for it at the end. So hope you guys liked it. Hope you got something out of it. And yes, there will be a video on Sunday. All right, peace. All right, so project is done, and we have something to show for it. Not our best work. Obviously, I went through that in the commentary. I have no idea what kind of wood this is, but it's like concrete. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. And you know, this obviously wasn't my best project. I'm sure I went over that in the commentary, but we got something to show for it. And you guys, this is just a bonus kind of project, but I still wanted to give it my best. I like these little purple inlays that I put in there. Somebody in the comments had put, hey, when that happens, just, you know, do like an effect on it. Put something in there to kind of, you know, give it some pop. And you know what, that it does add a little something to it. It's not the greatest project that we have ever done, but we had something to show for it, and it's just a bonus. But I still want to do my very best. But sometimes you have to say fuck it and just stop the insanity and just be grateful for what you finish. So as much as I'd like to do lids now, this project just got out of hand, and I just needed to stop. So I show failure on the channel and all my mess ups and fuck ups, and that's one of them. So it won't be the last, I'm sure. But man, and then sometimes you just gotta throw scrap away as well. Throw your scrap wood away if you're not doing anything with it. That's all this was just scrap, and that's how it turned out. But hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys are having a good Friday. You guys, today's the 21st. You guys are watching this on Friday, the 22nd of March, 2024. There will still be a video on Sunday. So hope you guys are liking the extra content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, peace.